We know relief efforts poured into eastern Kentucky just hours after we learned the magnitude of this flooding. And at the center of those efforts was Appalachian Regional Healthcare. Many of their own employees were also impacted by the flooding. Some of them were even missing.
But despite their losses, it didn't stop them from serving their mission to help those in eastern Kentucky during this incredibly tough time. Meteorologist Alexa Minton talked with President and CEO of ARH, Holly Phillips, and she looks back on that morning and tells us what they're doing still to help flood survivors today.
I will never forget the morning that this all happened on July 28th.
Like Holly Phillips, the morning of July 28th is a day many in eastern Kentucky will never forget.
I was actually at the gym that I go to most mornings to work out, and all of a sudden my watch starts blowing up with text messages.
Phillips is the president and CEO of Appalachian Regional Healthcare.
I mean, the magnitude, I just at that point couldn't wrap my head around it, but knew that it was in the mission of ARH that we had to do something.
Without hesitation, ARH jumped into action to serve their Appalachian communities.
Within the first 24 hours, we stood up an incident command center here in our Lexington office.
Here in Lexington, Phillips watched Kentuckians show up with food, water, clothing, cleaning supplies, and personal hygiene products for flood survivors, packing into their Kentucky offices. All the while, their own employees were setting aside their needs to help others.
I mean, it was just an unbelievable time, and to think about what our employees that were still coming to work and at home, some of them did not have a home anymore.
Within a week and a half, ARH's distribution efforts grew into a 34,000 square foot former JCPenney storefront in Hazard. To this day, they continue to collect donations.
During this time, no one had a job title. We all pitched in equally and did whatever we could to serve the mission.
ARH's efforts are felt tremendously through the mountains. By the end of 2022, their efforts helped more than 20,000 people, more than 5,500 households, and they distributed more than 3,200 tons of supplies. All that made possible with the help of over 2,200 volunteers. Phillips says she knows recovery and rebuilding are far from over, but she says hope is still there.
I hope people still see the hope and opportunity that exists in the mountains in the Appalachian region that we serve.
In Lexington, Alexa Minton, WKYT.
Phillips says to date, ARH has raised an amazing $2.2 million through their ARH Relief Fund. They've distributed more than $1.3 million of that to flood victims so far. They're still raising money and right now collecting school supplies, which you can help for the flood victims here in eastern Kentucky. You can find a link to help on WKYT.com. Just click on the flood.